What's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way. It is too hot today, and my brain is yet again fried, and I thought that it would be fun to go back around to something I've done a couple of times, kind of, and just play around with some character design again. So I've decided I'm going to be doing a 3-color challenge, probably thrice over, technically, with the main idea being that I'm going to use the colors that I roll to use on character designs. And it doesn't totally, like, need to be anything in particular. It could be a person, it could be a critter. It'd probably just depend on my mood. As I said, hot. And my brain is no worky, so I do not function well in the heat, like, at all. And I'm running on nothing, so let's just hop right into it right away and get some random colors because I want to make something. I want to make a video, and this felt like fun. So let us just roll our selector here. I am just on randomcolor.com, as it is called. It fills the whole screen. This is it with color. And when you refresh, it gives you a different color. So color number 1 for character 1 is a boop. Ooh, that is a very bright green. That is like a green screen green. It lit up my whole face. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab my color picker, I think, from Clip and just put these in that way. Alright, color number 2 for character number 1. And a refresh. Ooh, nice dark blue. Okay, so far a very, like, analogous character. 2 colors that work pretty well together, but they're pretty close to each other on the color wheel. Alright, and our third color, maybe give me a contradictory or essentially the same color. Hold on. Okay. That works too. It's a bit more blue. It's almost like an in-between for these 2 colors that we rolled first. So interesting. So that is our first character's color scheme selected, and I'm gonna let myself mix colors and do all the fun stuff that I want to do. I might include black and white in some of these. This is just kind of a base for the original character designs. Alright, and character number 2, color number 1. Ooh, purple! I like this purple. This is a nice purple. Kind of goes well with the previous color scheme too. Which, I mean, I could definitely make these characters related. I probably will. Like, not literally related like siblings, but like story-wise related to each other. Alright. And 2 for 2. And almost very similar in, like, value, I want to say. Yeah. Blue. So hopefully we get something that's a little bit less samey, so it's not just blending together, because those colors, like, light-wise, are very similar. Okay. And our final selection for character number 2, well, there we go. That's definitely different. I don't know if it's better, but it's different. Okay. Kind of a interesting off-color bi flag, almost. Alright, so that's character number 2, and character number 3, color number 1. Is this the same color as we... No, it's slightly different. I want to say. It is very similar to the first... Yeah, it's a little bit darker to the teal that we rolled in the first characters. Okay. Next one. Okay. Dark green. Well, like a sap green. And our final color for character number 3, a refresh. A bright green. Again, very similar to the one from the first palette. Interesting. Okay. So, popping down over to Clip, we can see here our selection of colors. And like I said, this one, very similar to this one. It's almost like slightly reversed, or like the in-between colors that you would get from this. This one, I don't know what kind of vibe it's giving me right off the bat. I guess kind of like a seafoam. I'm not quite sure. Like, it could be like kind of alien almost, like a space theme. I'm going to try and refresh a different color so I'm not colored green the whole time I'm talking about this. There we go. Nice neutral color that doesn't reflect off of my face. So yeah, alien, maybe sea-like kind of creature or character almost, right? Second one gives me kind of like a bubblegum vibe, but like dark almost, right? Like I said, like slight like off color bi flag as well. And like I said, these colors are very similar, so I'll probably want to mix them with this one to get something a little bit less samey between the two of them. Like if we took this, so if we go over monochrome here, you can see that these two colors are very similar, and this one is slightly darker. They're not as bad in black and white, honestly, as I thought they would be, but they're pretty similar. They're kind of blending together in my color vision at the moment. And the final one is very green, another fairly alien-looking color scheme. Not a like red or yellow in sight, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to make any humans. But that's okay. We can make humanoids, because I think a yellow or a red would go a long way in terms of making any, you know, realistic skin tone. Or we could just go crazy with the palette as well, because these three look like they could work together as well. They're kind of samey almost, really, in that regard. They're all very cool, except for the pink. And even then, it's kind of a cool pink, bordering on like a magenta or purple. Regardless, I think that I'm going to leave this here and get a little bit figured out off camera, because at the moment I don't know how much I can offer mentally. I'm gonna try and cool down a little bit more and get back to this, so I'll see you there. These colors kind of all gave me a futuristic vibe mixed in with some vibrant natural colors, but figuring out what to make with them was an interesting process because I didn't have much else to work with beyond that. For this first palette with the darker vibe, I figured I could make something for kind of a digital world and do some sort of virus demon or something. Then as I was playing around with it, I thought it would be funnier to go in the much more literal direction for the term bug, so I made a bug. They kind of specifically turned out a little like a grub dragon thingy. Weirdly, I think that the vibe I landed on for this character kind of channeled through to the rest, landing me in a more stylized, cartoony territory. This is Bug. That is just what they're referred to as most frequently. Bug exists in a world where nature has blended in almost seamlessly with ancient technology. Their species lives off mainly electricity and corrupted data, so they're essentially scavengers. They vary in shape drastically, but usually there are groups that these little virus critters can be put to. Not so much in Bug's case. Not only are they unique in shape, but also in personality. Bug is especially friendly and has taken a liking to the next character in the group that we'll get to. They do still have a voracious appetite that can get them into trouble more often than not. Next up is our off-color bi-flag palette, as I have affectionately deemed it. This one was especially difficult to land on, and you can see my struggle in the color thumbnails here. Initially, I thought maybe a humanoid character, some sort of elf-looking guy almost, but I wasn't really feeling it, and any animal-like designs just didn't seem to mesh well. Eventually, I realized these colors gave me two kind of distinct vibes to work with, those being dragon and sea. I came to a very kind of sea serpent / alligator character with a slightly more humanoid appearance than I'm immediately used to for kind of anthro characters, but again, it kind of fit the style Bug seemed to lean me toward here. I give them some big old front arms that just sparked joy and brought back that kind of monster feeling as opposed to just making them a guy. If you notice any gaps in activity, I spent a good portion of time trying to name these next two characters. Eventually, I landed on the name Locke for that sea monster vibe tied in with an actual water-based name, which is really just lake in Scottish. Locke is one of the few natural sentient creatures in this strange world. Not to mention, he's figuratively and literally kind of a fish out of water. He has no clue of his origins and spent his whole young life isolated. They are incredibly smart, mainly out of necessity. Locke is naturally curious about the world and wants to understand how it came to be how it is. When he noticed Bug's strange appearance and disposition, Locke befriended it, and Bug is essentially their pet now. Locke has a feeling that the virus critters, especially Bug, are essential to figuring out the old tech of this world and potentially who made it. I kind of had an idea for this character's personality before I even really looked back at the color palette, just due to the other characters and the dynamic I seem to be building. It helped that the light blue here lends to a mossy stone kind of look. I decided pretty quickly on a golem-like robot to sort of tie all the aspects of this world together. I figured this is probably the majority of the sentient population in this world. I covered them in lichen and moss to resemble hair and clothing, along with an actual piece of fabric for the legs. The color of green here really made the plants look like bioluminescent or almost magic, especially when the green is also like the light or life source within the character itself. I feel like there's a word I was forgetting, meaning like guide or true north, but I eventually just settled on compass for this guy. Compass is a relatively newly awoken machine from the ancient structures. The automatons of this world are still searching for and discovering other machines made by their predecessors. The newly awoken are usually without memory of their previous lives, if they had one at all, and also wake up with minimal sapience, so they are treated like children and taught the ways of the world from other golems. Compass is the youngest of his clan in this regard, but he does get some concerning memories occasionally, mostly nightmares. He usually keeps them to himself, based off of what he's heard. Overall, beside that, he's very boisterous, and after meeting Locke, he quickly sought to befriend this other curious mind, where most seem to want to forget whatever happened before the golems woke again. That being said, his pastimes seem to be bothering Locke and calling them any number of made-up nicknames beside their own. So far, they include, but are not limited to, Ness, Nessie, Croc, Gator, Lizard, and Fish. He's slightly cautious, of Bug. The critter seems keen on shorting out his circuitry, which is weird because most virus creatures can't do that to functioning robots, and it only seems to work for Compass. Curious. This is probably the only reason Locke mostly tolerates him. If Locke actually enjoys his company after years of feeling isolated from greater society, well then that's Locke's business. But those are my characters for this week. I had no clue where this would go when I started, so the fact that I was able to get a mostly cohesive little story and cast out of this was a huge bonus. I might play around with these characters a bit in the future even, who knows? Though I say that and I have a big list of potential revisits, so don't get your hopes up too high unless I catch some big obsession with these in particular. Which one of these is your favorite? I do love Bug. A little critter is always just so much fun to draw. But Locke is probably my personal favorite overall. I just like how his design came together, which is good because he ultimately took the longest. The similar color palette also really helped me tie these characters together here. Even Locke's complementary pink and purple to Compass and Bug's greens with that unifying blue between the three of them. Let me know what other art challenges you'd like to see me try in the future too. You can always subscribe to catch those whenever they go up. At that though, I'll leave this here, and I will see y'all next time.